Hi guys, Swordmaster here. Today we're looking at the release of RPGWizard 1.70. I'm just going to go through the features that have been introduced in this new version. First off, you can get it from the official RPGWizard website at the minute. If you scroll down to the Download Now section, you can see that the Windows and Linux versions are available for download. So I'm just going to quickly run through the features that have been added. So if you open up RPGWizard 1.7, the first thing you're going to notice is that the user interface has changed in terms of how it looks. So I've introduced a new modern flat theme for the RPGWizard editor. It has both a dark and light mode, so this is the dark mode. There's some things to point out as well. The default layout for the editor is now 2 panels, one left, one right, and then a lower panel on the bottom. Previously it was just one here on the left. You can actually change this if you have a smaller screen. You can go to Window and you can turn the east panel off, and that will move it back over here to the west. And then you can turn it back off and back on, and you can do the same thing for the south panel if you want. There's also a light theme as well if you prefer light themes. So if you go to Windows, Themes, Light, and you can get a light flat theme. Personally I prefer dark themes, so the default is dark. So just a quick shout out to the people who make this theme for Java. It is they're called the flat look and feel. They provided this new theme. It's a newer modern theme than the previous theme that I was using, and it's being updated regularly. So that's the main reason for the shift, if you're wondering. Other than that, the layout of the editor is essentially the same. It just looks a little bit differently. Just one small issue to point out at the minute that I noticed is that when you have a window open, and if you minimize that window, you have to actually kind of like scroll over the minimize kind of icon here to see what that window is. It can just make finding the window that you minimize a little bit trickier. Hopefully it's going to be fixed in a newer version of the FlatLav tool library. So that kind of covers the initial kind of difference that you'll notice the moment you open the editor up, is that it looks different. But everything is pretty much in the same place. It's just the look and feel of the editor has been updated. So going back to what has changed. So I'm just going to run through these and explain each item. So the help button that has been sitting up at the top of the editor has now actually been enabled, and it does something. If you click on it, it'll take you straight to the RPGWizard wiki on GitHub. So that's what it does. It was previously doing nothing. So there is also the new panel at the bottom called the Issues tab, which is, I'm going to just run through this. This is a really cool and new feature that I've added. So basically, what it will do is it will actually list the errors that are currently exist in your program. Now, for this to work, you need to install a separate program. I'm going to show you how to do that. So at the minute, if you write something like this, that is incorrect. There's no error highlighting, and the Issues tab does not get populated. Now, for this to work, we need to install a separate program called JSHint, which is a JavaScript parser or error checker. And I'm just going to show that now. So I'm going to leave links to this in the description of the video. So what you need to do is you need to install this separate program called Node.js. Node.js is a very popular JavaScript tool that it's going to help the RPGWizard run a JavaScript checking library or checking code. So I'll leave a link to this in the description, but you need to go to Node.js.org, and then it's going to ask you to download this tool for Windows. I'm just going to go through it here and install it and show you the differences. So if I go back to the editor now, you'll see there's no error checking at all. And after we install this, we should have some error checking. So I'm going to run this. And it's going to ask me to install this tool, Node.js. So you just click Next. You accept the terms and agreements. Next. I'll ask you where you want to install it. Next. You can just leave all the default stuff. And then you can just go next on the tools for native modules. Let's go next and install. And that's going to install this tool, Node.js. In the future, this is hopefully going to be done through an RPGWizard plugin. But at the minute, you just have to do this manually if you want error hinting. So let's finish. And then when that's done, you need to open up a command prompt on Windows. So you just go to your kind of search bar here on Windows 10 in my case. For other versions of Windows, you'll have to figure out how to open command prompt. But you just need to find this app called command prompt, open it up. And then we need to install this thing called JSHint. But if you type in node, N-O-D-E, and then -v, it will print out the version of Node that is installed on your computer, and you should get v something. And once that's done, you need to go to jshint.com/install. Again, I'll leave a link to this in the description. And you need to go and find this part here where it says Node.js, and it says you must install it globally using the following command. So what we're doing now is we're installing JSHint, which is the tool that RPGWizard is using to show errors in your code files. You just copy that, go back to your command prompt and just click paste. Control V. Actually, it's not working, so I'm just going to type this in by hand. So npm install, and just click enter, and then that's just going to go download. It's using the Node.js tool, and it's downloading this tool called JSHint for us. And then if you type JSHint-v, I can see JSHint is now installed. So now if I go back to the editor, and you're going to have to close the editor and open it again for this to be enabled. And just now I'm not going to save that. And I'm just going to reopen the editor. And now I'm going to create a new program. And I'm going to deliberately put some errors in it. I'm just going to type rpgcode.blob something. And yeah, straight away you get these issues showing up at the bottom of the editor. So that's really handy. It really helps me and hopefully other users find errors in their code. But again, hopefully I will include this feature as a plugin so you don't have to do those manual steps, but yeah, they're very simple and they won't take very long. You can also completely disable this issues tab if you want by just hiding the south panel. If you hide it, then the feature isn't really enabled, so and you can turn it back on at any point. So that is error hinting and error checking. I highly recommend that you take the time to do those two very simple steps. It will save you a lot of time when it comes to debugging your programs, because JSHint is so good in terms of pointing out things like a missing semicolon or some issue that you've created in your code. So that covers that feature. I'm just going to go through some of the other features. So back to the release. So I added this feature, which is custom tile data. Another user actually asked for this, Kuradido. Sorry if I botched your name, but it's now possible to set custom tile information in your tile sets. So now, what does that mean? That means if you open something like a tile set, so if you go to the editor and you open a tile set, and you right-click on any of the tiles in the tile set, you'll get this properties. So now every tile has a certain number of properties. So I added this from my own game, so I could set things like what type of tile it is, what is the defense bonus, so it was geared towards tactical RPGs. And you can also set a piece of custom data on the tile. So what you do is you can select any of these built-in types, capital, and they have default defense values. You can adjust these, but these defense values are based off Fire Emblem or Advance Wars kind of values, so they have kind of default values, and you can actually set some default custom kind of information about the tile if you want. And when you've done that, you need to click Update, and what that's going to do is it's actually going to save that information on that tile. And if I click away and click back onto that tile, I can see that it's capital. I can just test in here. Click off a test, and that gives you custom tile data in the editor. So now you're going to ask me, how do I use that custom tile data in my game? And it's very simple. There is a command. If you go to, when you're creating a program, if you type RPG code get tile data, you can use this command. It says it gets the data associated with the tile on the board as set in the editors. So basically you need to pass it the tile X, tile Y, and layer coordinate of the board. So if you have a character, he's on the board, and you want to know what tile data is on the tile that is underneath him, you need to pass in the current X and Y and layer of the player, and the engine will then collect the tile data from the board. So you are asking on a board, for example, you are asking what tile data is associated with this tile on the board, and then it will return that data back to you. So that's what the tile data feature does. It's really useful in things like RPGs, which use tactical-based battle systems. So I'll probably cover that in more detail in a tutorial series at some point, but just be aware you need to use the get tile data command in RPG code. And there's actually an example of how to do that in the new tactical RPG system that has been included in the editor. So if you go to File, Open Project, you'll see that there is 3 bundled projects now with the RPGWizard. There's the original Wizard's Tower, which is kind of the simple turn-based turn-based RPG, and then there's the tactical RPG demo, and then there's an action RPG demo. So I'm just going to show the tactical RPG demo, which is based off the game that I'm currently working on. So I'm not going to save that. I'm going to briefly cover this, but there's a fair bit of code under the programs folder. I hope to do a future video where I go into this project in more depth, but I'll just play it here just to show you the kind of features that are available now. So it's using the dialogue system, which I've actually updated to. You can now specify whether or not you want it to use key press or mouse press as the input. And so you can run through this, and you'll see it sliding up from the bottom. So if you set it to the bottom configuration, it will actually slide up in this nice kind of transition. And so if you just play this, it's just going through the whole kind of like setup stage. And you can click on a unit like this, and yep, you've got a tactical battle system. You can kind of play through that, and there's 2 endings to it. So if you have more questions on this particular example project, then please just ask in Discord, and I should be able to answer them. Now onto the next thing. Another cool feature that was I think requested at one point is project templating. What does that mean? Similarly to other applications, I think, such as RPG Maker, you can actually now create a project based on another project. So you could create a project based off the tactical example. I'm just going to call this my tactical game. And you create that, and you see you get a separate project, but it actually has it's completely based off that template, so it plays exactly the same. So this can really save you time if you want to make a game using a tactical template. You don't have to move all the files by hand, but you can still create a blank project too. So you can still go new project, blank project, and you can just create one without a template. So that feature was added too. There is also a run code button, which was another feature that was requested as well. This allows you to run code from a program without having to go into the project settings and set the startup program to that program. So what you can do is you can go to create a new program. And I'm just going to create a simple program that draws a piece of text. So it's going to just draw classic hello world text. And now you got to save this first. So just go up here, save it, and I'm just going to call this test. And at the very top here, next to the run button, you'll notice this little bug button. And what that is it's the debug program button. And when you click that button, whatever program that you have selected in the editor, it will try to run that program in the engine. And then you can just run that program. So you don't have to play through your whole game or anything like that. Just to run a simple program, you can just click debug program, and it just picks this program and it just runs it. So that's really good for testing things, for demoing things too. So another request feature was the ability to set vectors visible. So I'm just going to switch to the Action RPG for this. So the included Action RPG template. And when you're in the board editor, when you select the vectors tool, you can see straight away that the vectors are drawn on the board, and that's useful for when you're doing editing. But it's also useful to be able to see this kind of information when you're actually playing your game, so you can see if there's a collision that is off or something's triggering that you don't expect to trigger. If you go to the project editor, so your .game file, at the very bottom here, it's under startup settings. You'll see this show vectors. So if I play it without show vectors, I don't see any vectors at all. But if I go to show the vectors, and now I run that, I can see all the vectors. So I can see all the activation vectors, I can see all the collision-based vectors too. So, and this is really useful for debugging things. And you can simply turn it off or on by clicking show vectors. So I can turn it off again, and it's off. So that's a really useful feature for debugging things. Another thing that I added that was also requested was there are now functions that allow you to draw rotated images on canvases. So they are new drawing functions. So RPG code draw image. So what this allows you to do is it allows you to specify a rotation as well, so in radians. So previously there was a command called set image. That command is still there, but you should use draw image now for all your drawing commands. because you can specify rotation with it too. Whereas with set image, you can't specify rotation. You can also use draw image part, which is for drawing sub parts of images, and you can also specify rotations there. So draw image part, you can draw rotated images, and you can do all sorts of cool stuff with that. There is also a new command as well for updating layer images on boards. And this command, I think, is called update layer image. RPG code update layer image. Basically what it allows you to do is it allows you to update the X, Y, even the actual image itself of the board image. So if you set a board image in the editor, you can use this command to move that board image around or change it to another image, for example. And that's what that command does. So that's called update layer image. That covers the bulk of the big features. There's one thing I forgot to mention actually. On Linux at the minute, I noticed that the issues tab is not working correctly. It's not working. Doesn't show the errors. I'm currently investigating that, so if you're using Linux, I apologize. I'm going to try to fix that soon in a patch, hopefully by next weekend. But just be aware if you're a Linux user. There was also some minor bug fixes. There was an issue where if you toggled undo and redo on the board editor, it reverted any layer visibility settings. So if you toggled the layers on or off in the editor, when you hit undo, it would undo this as well, and the layers would be visible again. That's been fixed. There's also been many other smaller bug fixes too. Too many to list here. But I think that covers the bulk of everything. Oh, there was also a close button added to the tileset editor, which was requested as well by a user. A very useful little feature, just to be able to close your tile sets. In terms of what am I going to add in the next release, 1.8, I'm open to requests on features at the minute. I'm considering a few features myself. One of those would be to expand the event configuration. So at the minute you can only set it to a custom program or a board link program. I'm thinking about adding other programs such as dialogue, so you would be able to generate dialogue in the editor. So that's one feature that I'm thinking about adding. I'm also thinking about improving the error feedback from the engine when there is a code error. So at the minute you have to open the console. I'm going to add a feature hopefully that will tell you when you need to open the console. So if there's an error detected, it will hint towards that error and tell you to open the console. So I'm considering adding that. I'm also going to try to fix the issue where you have to set the north, south, east, and west animations on both sprites. And there's a few other features I want to add too, but I need to have a good think about them. But if there are any features that any user would like, then please let me know and I will try to add it for the next release. Thanks guys for watching.